What do you regret finding out? I didn't meet my dad until I was 15. It was in secret since my mother wanted nothing to do with him. Within the first 3 sentences exchanged, he felt the need to tell me that I was conceived on a beach in July during the last time they had sex. I was the product of going away fucking a relationship doomed before my conception. He followed it up with, we were good at 2 things. Me and your mom. Fighting and fucking. Unfortunately, we were fighting more than we were fucking, so it stopped being worth it. 10 years later, and this is still how I get my family history. Well, at least he's honest. It's something that my parents regret. Not telling my brother at an early age he's adopted. Edit. Everything it's fine nowadays. Parents who want to adopt in the future, be kind and don't lie for your own safety. My brother was adopted and he was told from the moment he could understand he had a different mom when he was born, but she couldn't look after her, so he came to us. As he got older, more info was supplied, but there was never a moment he was told. He always knew. I remember when he was about 1, he was in the pool with Dad and he said, "Does that mean I was adopted?" And Dad said, "Yes." My adopted brother says, "Well then you are not my real dad and can't tell me what to do." My dad, bless him, replies, "I have a will. If I die, it says this house and everything I own will be divided up and given to my kids. Every kid gets the same amount and you are named as one of those kids." My adopted brother never raised the issue again. When I was about 14, my mom took me to a tattoo shop to get her nipples pierced. While the procedure was happening, she turned to me and said, "Your dad bites harder than that. I could have lived without that." Info. What kind of person takes their kid to their nipple piercing? Learning from my sister that my father told her that my mom's mom was not paralyzed from the waist down because she fell off a fence. It is that she was beaten so badly by the man she was seeing at the time. Shit, there are some nasty pieces of shit in this world. Sad face. I regret finding out that a priest I used to admire was a pedophile and has since been defrocked. My brother's girlfriend's NSFW Reddit account. It's supposed to be a couple's account, so you might guess the horrors I saw in there. I regret just finding out that my brother found out about my girlfriend's NSFW account. Nice try. Almost gave me a heart attack, so top marks anyway. Finding out my ex had slept with my uncle and 3 of my friends. I could see 1 or 2 friends, but 3 friends and an uncle. Question mark. An uncle. Might not be a traditional much older uncle. I played football with an uncle, nephew who were less than a year apart. Kinda like a brother at that point. Or maybe she banged his 60-year-old uncle. What do I know? In larger families it's not uncommon to have aunts and uncles near the same age of their nieces and nephews. My grandmother actually had a niece that was older than her. My grandmother's oldest sister was 21 years older than she was. Her sister was married with a child before my grandmother was born. That my mom knew my stepfather was abusing me and did nothing. Same here, now they're both out of my life. I didn't find out until after they had both died. If I had to know, I wish I could have at least learned about it before she died so I could have confronted her about it. That I'm not very smart. I'm not dumb or dim. But I've really had to come to terms with the fact that not only am I not the smartest man in the room, I'm probably damn near the stupidest. I'm a rape baby. Found out my girlfriend told my parents I was extremely suicidal and they responded, "So? What do you want us to do about that?" And they never brought it up again. A few months after they kicked me out for textbook depression, I found out my mom cashed out my U plan program that froze college tuition prices for me at cost of $19.91 pricing. My grandmother set up and put money in. She used the $25,000 in it to pay off IRS from problems she incurred due to drug addiction. You could wake up mid-surgery, or amnesia awareness, where you feel all the pain from a surgery, but you're asleep, and the surgery goes on for hours. Usually your heart rate will rise significantly, so they will more than likely know that this is happening to you and will stop. At least this is what I've heard. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm not. Lol. Also, we use BIS monitoring. It's like an EEG, and we can see how sedated you are underneath by watching brainwaves, and there's a normal range we look for. Edit. I'm a cardiac ICU RN. We use this when we have to paralyze our sedated patients who are post-cardiac arrest and require controlled hypothermia, or on patients who aren't tolerating their ventilators. And I know they use it in the OR as well. I'm under the impression it's pretty standard here in the US. How many cockroaches there are in Australia? The one that climbed my foot as I sat in the evening gaming freaked me out. Also be aware that bush cockroaches are pretty huge, and with the recent fires a lot have kind of migrated. Was backpacking and in Perth one night out, one landed on my neck. I thought it was a small bug because I only felt its small feet. But when I reached for it I felt how large it was, and it panicked and dug its feet into my neck. As I pulled it off I could feel my skin stretching as its feet plucked away from my neck. I threw it on the ground and stepped on it. But nothing is worse in Australia than sand flies. Those fuckers will follow you for blocks, going from your ear to your eye to your nose to your mouth. Anywhere where there is moisture, and they're so fast. If you think black flies in North America are fast, you haven't seen a sand fly. My father never wanted me, or children at all, and actually told my mother that if she had me, he'd spend his life making both of us miserable. She was convinced that once he saw me, he'd change his mind. She was very, very wrong. My dad often says how much happier he would have been if he and my mother never had children. I feel your pain, person shrugging, light skin tone. I'm sorry, it sucks. It does, but I've gotten used to it, I guess. Just disappointing and hurtful to hear every time I'm reminded of it. What the Mr. Hands video is. What is it? Dude getting fucked by a horse. And he died from that encounter. The details of my parents' divorce. Thanks, Mom. Same boat. My mother used to rant all day about how awful my father was. Everything she told me was a lie. I got both sides lying for all my life. They divorced at 2, now I'm 19, so I've no idea what actually happened and what didn't. I'm in your exact situation, except they aren't divorced. Makes the temper in the house quite high sometimes. In fact, if you've ever watched Parks and Recreation, Ron Swanson and his ex-wife, Tammy, are literally my parents, except for the blatant manipulation and stuff. One minute they love each other dearly. Next minute there's a huge fight and one leaves for a day. This time it was my birthday. What tinnitus is. Now I can't stop hearing its sad face. I've heard the ringing for so long that I just assumed everyone heard it. When I finally went to the VA and they put the headphones on me for the audiology exam, I couldn't believe how deafening the ringing really was in the silence. After I talked with them and found out that it wasn't normal, I was shocked. It seems to get worse when I'm really stressed out, but I don't know if it really is, or if it's just my imagination. Not sure if you already knew this, but white noise, even softly, can cancel out tinnitus. I did not. I will definitely be trying this out sometime. Thank you. What my sister and her boyfriend were doing in the bubble bath. I bet those sick fucks were holding hands. You know who has hands? The devil, and he uses them for holding. What were they doing? Then my ex sabotaged a condom to try and stop me from joining the military. This is how you get stuck alone with a baby. Well, she's now divorced me but doesn't stop me from seeing him. I only found out about the condom through a mutual friend. Well, what a piece of shit. Just how close my pilonidal cyst, a hole that forms where your tail was as a fetus, was to making contact with my spine. I had an open wound for a year because the first surgeon was a fucking joke and it ripped immediately, and he told me to take sit baths to help it close up naturally. By the time 11 months later I got the second surgery, it was apparently only millimeters from tunneling to my spine, which could have caused me infection or death. I wish I never knew how close it was. BC, I am terrified it's still tunneling on the inside even though completely closed now on the outside. Pilonidal cysts are way more painful than anyone who hasn't had them could understand. Sorry, you're going through this and they didn't get it right the first time.
Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox.